to her family.
Finally, whoa, that's a lot of elk. Or is it elks? Anyway, an estimated 700 of them are crossing a road in the Grand Ronde Valley in Oregon. March is always the most challenging month for big game, trying to survive the winter, especially this year, thanks to heavy snow and freezing temperatures that won't seem to end. Officials are asking everyone to take extra care not to stress wildlife so they can make it to spring. We all know how that is.
And that Now update.
Those otter shark, aren't
Yeah, they are.
Thanks for helping out today.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here Monday. Newsfeed 5 starts right now.
And right now at 5:10, people suffer injuries after a semi crashes into an SUV. This happened in Greene County. We'll have the very latest.
And a warning from Madison police after they see an increase in thefts in underground parking ramps.
Plus, Governor Tony Evers recommending a hefty tax on e-cigarettes and vaping products, how local vape shops are reacting.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 5.
And thanks for staying with News 3. Instead of supporting their hometown basketball team at a state tournament, 9 people are dealing with injuries from a crash early this morning.
They were in an SUV heading to watch the Blackhawk girls basketball team of South Wayne play in Green Bay when a semi-truck rear-ended them on Highway 69, sending all 10 involved to the hospital. Our Madeline O'Neill is here with more. Maddie.
Amanda and Eric, this is just into our newsroom. The Greene County Sheriff's Department tells us 54-year-old Gerald Hyman was driving the vehicle with 2 adults and 6 child passengers. They were all from rural Lafayette County. According to the Greene County Sheriff's Department, the vehicle could safely hold 9 passengers, but 2 of the children weren't wearing seat belts. At about 5:45, the SUV with 9 people was heading north on Highway 69 when the driver slowed down to avoid a group of deer. That's when a semi-truck driven by 58-year-old Kurt Hardy hit them from behind, forcing them off the road and into a ditch. Sheriff Jeff Scatrude says anytime that many people are involved in a crash, it's an added challenge for first responders.
The challenges of that are huge and infrequent. So the training that they've had and their experience sure showed today.
Scatrude says there's no indication that alcohol or distracted driving played a role in this crash, and no citations have been issued as of now. Officials aren't releasing the conditions of those involved in the crash, but they say some remain hospitalized while others have been released, including the semi-truck driver. Highway 69 between New Glarus and Monticello is now reopened after being shut down for several hours this morning to reconstruct the scene of that crash.
Thank you, Maddie. Police are looking into a report of an older man following an 11-year-old girl last week as she walked on Madison's west side. The girl told police she was walking on Swallowtail Drive near Settlers Road on February 28th when an older man started following her. The girl sprinted home and told her parents. She said the man was driving a navy blue vehicle, possibly a crossover with dark tinted black windows. He's described as white, 60 to 70 years old, 5 feet 5 inches tall with a heavy build and a gray beard.
All right, let's get a look at your first alert weather now. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti joining us. He's on the backyard weather patio. Gary?
Boy, it almost felt like a heat wave today thanks to the sunshine that we had and the mild conditions with temperatures back in the middle 30s, a little closer to where they should be for this time of year. Still plenty of snow on the ground, and the clouds are starting to thicken up from the west to the east. Now, right now, things look very quiet out there on Doppler track. That will change. This radar picture will look completely different tomorrow with a mixture of snow, rain, and freezing rain in parts of Wisconsin and the Midwest. But right now, things are very quiet. I think for about the next 12 to 18 hours, things will be very quiet around here. This morning, we had temperatures starting out in the single digits and teens. Areas north of Madison stayed clear for a fairly long period of time before the clouds moved in, and that kept temperatures down there, where to the south and west they were kept up thanks to the cloud cover. High temperatures today back into the middle to upper 30s. Here in Madison, we topped out at 36 degrees, and current temperatures are still above freezing, so we're melting a little bit of snow for today. Overnight, look for skies to turn cloudy. Temperatures will drop into the lower to middle 20s by early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, we'll see a mixture of some snow, sleet, freezing rain, and rain develop. That will change to rain from Madison southward as our high temperature gets up to 38. I'll have more details and weather in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Gary. Milton High School was placed on a non-emergency lockdown for a threat found on social media this morning. School administration asked for additional police presence at the school for the beginning of the day and staffed all school entrances with additional staff members. Milton police say they were shown a screenshot of a Snapchat showing a 15-year-old holding a pistol with a caption that said, "Don't go to school." Police determined the gun in the post was a pellet pistol, and the caption about the school was added by a different juvenile once it was reshared. The student who took the picture is not facing any charges. An evaluation for the charges and school discipline for the second student who added that caption will take place once all reports have been completed.
3 children were removed from a Grant County home last week after law enforcement officers say they found them in a home near drugs. The Richland, Iowa Grant Drug Task Force searched the home with a warrant in the city of Platteville last month. Alvin Colson and Diana Colson were arrested on suspicion of drug offenses and charges related to child neglect and taken to the Grant County Jail. Officers seized meth and paraphernalia to ingest methamphetamine, marijuana, and other drug paraphernalia inside that residence. Officials say an infant and 2 toddlers at the home were in close proximity to both the drugs and the paraphernalia, including syringes. Those children were removed from the home. One of 4 men charged in connection with the shooting death of a 5-year-old boy has been sentenced. Eric Salazar Mota, the second man to face sentencing for the murder of Austin Ramos Jr. of Beloit, will serve 14 years in prison, followed by 10 years of extended supervision. In January, Salazar Mota pleaded guilty to the charge of second-degree reckless homicide, party to a crime. In November, Sergio Regoza Ortiz was the first person sentenced, receiving a punishment of 40 years in prison. Underground parking garages can keep your cars safe and warm.
But that's now the latest spot for a string of burglaries in our city. Our Keely Arthur spoke to police and has the very latest. Keely.
That's right. Car break-ins are a known problem in our community, but now thieves looking to hide from the cold like the rest of us have moved underground. Madison Police Department crime analysts have noticed a big uptick in burglaries in which underground parking garages are being targeted. Criminals sneak inside, break vehicle windows, and then steal items. Nearly 25 cases have been reported since the start of this year.
Not seeing anything in terms of witnesses watching this or seeing someone in the garages, so we think it's in the early morning hours. Again, often Friday into Saturday night, Saturday into Sunday morning.
The latest happened last Sunday morning at a complex off Harbor Town Drive. Police say these incidents are mainly over on the west side. The item most frequently stolen, backpacks. If you see anything suspicious, of course, contact police.
All right, Keely Arthur reporting. Keely, thank you. The 2 men in Rock County Jail tonight after an argument led to a gunshot being fired. This happened in Janesville last night. The Janesville PD says officers were sent to 119 Lynn Street for a report of a man inside that home who had a gun and was threatening to shoot everyone inside. Police say they believe it started with an argument over drugs. The victim and her 4 young children were able to get out of the home. While they were leaving, a single shot was heard coming from the residence. 22-year-old Cole Smith was arrested for first-degree recklessly endangering safety. 22-year-old Michael Black was arrested for multiple counts, including 4 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety while armed. Janesville police say it was an isolated incident and there's no threat to the rest of the community. Governor Tony Evers recommending taxing e-cigarettes and vaping products the same way as tobacco.
The tax is part of the governor's 2-year spending plan and estimated to generate nearly $35 million in tax revenue. But as Roschmidt explains, it's being met with some pushback.
Yes, well, the state's Department of Health Services says right now there's an e-cigarette epidemic among teens, and advocacy groups believe this tax is a step in the right direction. But vape shops tell me that taxing these products will lead to higher prices for customers and could even drive them out of business.
Like all this would be taxed.
Inside Knuckleheads, you'll find a vapor's bliss.
I personally smoke cigarettes for too long. You know, not as long as most, but I am right now currently making the switch.
A switch general manager, Landon Meskey, says shows him the positive effects of vaping.
I wake up feeling better.
But those same products could soon have a hefty 71% tax imposed.
I know a lot of shops pay our fair share of taxes.
Under Governor Evers' state budget proposal.
I know there are shops that are just vapor. I mean, a tax like this goes into effect, you're hurting a lot of small businesses.
This comes at a time when e-cigarette use among teenagers is skyrocketing. Last year, the state found that 20% of high school students were using them.
What we found is that, especially with vaping and juuling, the parents don't know what's actually out there.
Stephen Ricks chairs an organization in Lodi educating parents about the products and says the tax would be good for a number of reasons.
If students are on a limited budget, which most of them are, because they're probably getting money from parents or friends, then if the tax is there, then it's more expensive for them to do, and they may avoid it for longer.
His organization also trains teachers to catch students when they use Juuls, which looks similar to USB drives.
They have a box where they collect, and the box is getting bigger and bigger because of the amount of them, which to me is amazing.
Landon says his shop scans the ID of everyone that buys something and agrees that education is key.
Crack down on underage use, like send in people every month to all these shops.
But Stephen is focusing on cracking down long before students walk into the door.
The other thing we know is that once you develop a habit like that, then you start moving up to the next step and the next step and the next step.
While also acknowledging that teenagers are only part of the conversation.
I think that vaping and juuling has a purpose for adults who are trying to quit smoking, but that's about where it ends.
Governor Evers' budget proposal also would tax what's known as little cigars and brown cigarettes as regular cigarettes. It's important to note that the governor's plan faces opposition from Republican lawmakers who plan to write their own state budget proposal.
Thank you, Rose. When you set your clocks ahead an hour this weekend, emergency management officials say you should also be testing smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in your home. All homes and duplexes here in Wisconsin are required to have detectors installed on every level, including your basement. But that's not the only way you can help keep yourself and your family safe from carbon monoxide poisoning. Wisconsin Emergency Management recommends also having your furnace or wood-burning stove inspected every year by a professional.
The WIA girls basketball tournament well underway now up at the Resch Center in Green Bay. First game of the day, undefeated Blackhawk beats Fall River easily, 71-39. They'll play Clayton tomorrow in the championship game. And in Division II, Beaver Dam also an easy winner over Hortonville, 68-48. And Monroe has defeated Whitefish Bay, so they'll meet each other on Saturday. Beaver Dam looking for its third straight state championship. In about an hour and a half, the Middleton girls team will take the floor against McGuanago, and we'll have highlights of that game for you tonight on News 3 Now at 10.
A cheese from Ohio has captured the top spot at the U.S. Championship Cheese Contest in Wisconsin. The Baby Swiss, made by Gigasburg Cheese in Millersburg, Ohio, barely edged out a Gouda made by Marika Penterman in Thorpe, who won the contest in 2013. The event in Green Bay is considered the largest technical cheese, butter, and yogurt competition in the country. Entries came from 35 states. They are judged on flavor, body, texture, salt, color, finish, and packaging. Organizers say there were 2,555 entries this year, an 11% increase compared to 2017.
They have to let another state win every once in a while, right? Just so that they keep entering. There's more to come on News 3 Now at 5. Up next, the president and the first lady touring the tornado devastation down in Alabama. We'll have more on his visit.
And R. Kelly's manager says the singer is expected to be released later today after being put behind bars for not paying child support.
A look at the day to wrap the week on Wall Street. A 23-point dip for the Dow. The Nasdaq loses another 13. The S&P 500 drops a half dozen. We'll be right back. President Trump and the First Lady traveled to Alabama today to tour areas destroyed by tornadoes over the weekend.
At least 23 people were killed, including 4 children. It was the deadliest tornado to hit the region in 6 years. Shortly before meeting with families and first responders, the President and First Lady got a first-hand look at the devastation in the town of Beauregard. An EF4 tornado with 170-mile-per-hour winds tore through the community on Sunday, leaving a path of devastation almost a mile wide. In the wake of the storms, President Trump issued a disaster declaration in Alabama to assist in the state's recovery.
Providing all of the aid, so you'll see the FEMA people, let them know as soon as you can so they know that, because a lot of people don't know that. And they really need aid in this case.
About 30 tornadoes hammered other parts of the southeast last weekend. Forecasters say more bad weather could hit the region this weekend. A Chicago grand jury charged actor Jussie Smollett with 16 felony counts for falsely reporting a hate crime. Smollett was charged last month with a felony charge of disorderly conduct for allegedly making up the hate crime. The 36-year-old actor told police he was attacked by 2 masked men on January 29th. He claimed the 2 men had beat him, said homophobic and racial slurs, and put a noose around his neck before running off. Police arrested 2 brothers who they initially linked to that attack, but police said the brothers then said Smollett had paid $3,500 to them to stage the attack.
R. Kelly's manager says he expects his client to be released from jail later today. The Grammy winner was put behind bars Wednesday for failing to pay $161,000 in child support. He is also facing charges of sexually abusing underage girls, and he denies all of the allegations. Some of R. Kelly's alleged victims say his explosive interview with CBS This Morning's Gayle King this week brought back some painful memories. Asante McGee says Kelly subjected her to mental and sexual abuse while she lived with him for 3 weeks. She told CBS News she turned off the television interview.
There was nothing that I felt sorry about him for, because I know the type of monster he is, and I know he would cry at the drop of a dime.
And the parents of Jocelyn Savage, one of the R&B singer's current girlfriends, are also speaking out. They claim Kelly lied about Savage's father in that interview.
SpaceX has taken a gigantic step in space exploration with the successful splashdown of its Dragon crew capsule. The spacecraft launched on March 2nd, carrying 400 pounds of equipment to the International Space Station. Also on board, Ripley, a dummy crammed with sensors to test the stresses on human passengers. Space station astronauts tested air quality and checked the capsule before its return trip home.
This was the dawn of a new era in American human spaceflight.
When you kind of look overall at this mission, it was a great dress rehearsal for Demo 2.
If all goes well, the Dragon capsule will carry its first human passengers into orbit this summer.
All right, let's turn to Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti. Gary, pretty nice out there today. Hopefully it won't get too nasty this weekend.
You know, this is about what the weather should be for this time of year, but it's just been so lousy for about the last 6-week period that it just seems very nice by comparison. But it was nice to have the sunshine and temperatures at least back closer to normal. Right now, Doppler track, pretty quiet across southern Wisconsin. Not much going on here. And even the wider view, a little bit of light snow up in northern Minnesota, but this will change. A big storm system to our south and west will start bringing precipitation in this direction. Already, winter storm watches and warnings have been issued. Winter storm watch still north and west of La Crosse, but warnings have already been issued now from Eau Claire through the Twin Cities back into parts of eastern and south and North Dakota. Then winter weather advisories through the Rhinelander area and down into parts of northern Iowa. So if you have travel plans to the north and west this weekend, you might want to keep a very close eye on the forecast or consider delaying your travel, because snowfall amounts, at least according to our local computer models, show somewhere between about 5 and 10 inches of snow, maybe even locally more, up to a foot in some spots, from the Dakotas through much of southern Minnesota and into northwestern Wisconsin, and then a little lesser amounts, mainly in areas north of Madison, tomorrow morning, late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night, and then early on Sunday morning. Now, there could also be a little bit of light freezing rain. We'll see a mixture of precipitation when it starts tomorrow morning, but that will change over to rain in most areas, at least from Madison southward, but especially north of Madison. There could be up to 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. There could be a little more significant icing in parts of northern Iowa and southern Minnesota, maybe up to 1/4 of an inch of ice there. For most of us, the big problem is going to be rain, anywhere between about 1/2 inch and 1 inch of rain. That coupled with the snow melt and a lot of the storm drains are still clogged with snow and ice. That could lead to some localized flooding problems. I do have an alert day in the forecast for tomorrow. I've taken it out for Sunday because it looks like the impacts on Sunday now are going to be pretty benign. But again, that mixture of snow, freezing freezing rain, and rain will gradually change to rain from Madison southward, and then that mixed precipitation that will continue through the afternoon and evening north of Madison will gradually change over to some light snow with maybe some minor accumulations before it comes to an end. Live view from the Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville. Look at that, nice sunshine there. Here's the live view from the WISC Skycam looking toward the west. We're seeing plenty of sunshine here, and the Edgewater Skycam looking out over the northern end of the UW campus. Plenty of sunshine there, too. As we check out the almanac for today, 11 degrees the early morning low. High temperature today, 36 degrees, only 3 degrees below the average high of 39. Right now we're 35. Skies are partly sunny. Wind chill is 29 with a south-southeasterly wind at 7 miles per hour. Well, the strong jet stream, which starts near the Hawaiian Islands, will continue across the Pacific Ocean. It's really spinning up the storm system in the southwestern part of the country. That's what will move northeastward and affect us over the next couple of days. So while there's nothing going on here, here's where our storm is, and that could bring severe weather to our south and that big winter storm to our north. So our forecast for tonight calls for skies to become mostly cloudy, not as cold, low temperature dropping to 23. The cloud cover will help us out there. For tomorrow, look for cloudy skies. We could see some snow, freezing rain, and rain in the morning, changing over to rain from Madison southward in the afternoon. High temperature in town at 38, a little colder to the north where that mix of precipitation may continue on. So you can see this on Future Track. Lots of clouds for tonight. Temperatures dropping into the 30s, but here's that mix of precipitation gradually changing over to some light snow at the end. And then on Sunday, we'll probably see some breaks in the clouds. Temperatures will stay in the mid-30s, so I think our impacts will be pretty small here. Perhaps a couple of inches of snow north of Madison through the weekend. A little bit of freezing rain up to 1/10 of an inch in our northern viewing area, but rainfall amounts between 1/2 inch and 1 inch over much of the weekend. The 10-day forecast calls for those temperatures to drop a little bit early next week, and then a warm-up midweek with some showers and thunderstorms, highs around 50 on Wednesday, and then another cool down before we warm up again for the beginning of the following week. As we take a look at first alert traffic, it is a Friday. You would expect the Beltline to be fairly busy, and we're seeing that right now. The live view from the DOT camera, this is actually right at I-39, 90, and 94 at the big interchange on the east side. Traffic moving pretty steadily there, but you can see on the Beltline itself some slowdowns, especially westbound between Fish Hatchery Road and John Nolan Drive. Eastbound looks like the delays start around Monona Drive and head back to around, say, Todd Drive. Right now, about almost a half-hour commute on the eastbound Beltline from University Avenue to the interstate, 22 minutes back in the westbound direction. Heading out of Madison, 26 minutes down to Janesville on I-39-90, 18 minutes now to Sauk City on US 12, and 18 minutes to Sun Prairie on US 151. That's your News 3 Now First Alert Traffic.
All right, Gary, thank you. Ahead at 5, it's International Women's Day. We'll tell you how women are helping change the face of the video game industry after a short break. Welcome back. On this International Women's Day, we take a closer look at some of the women who are changing the face of the video game industry.
Tom Hansen takes a closer look.
Mitu Kandekar is programming her latest game.
I'm just writing some code to kind of move the camera around.
The founder of multiple gaming companies and a college professor at New York University, she's a rare voice in a male-dominated field.
The games industry has had a bit of a reputation for being a boys' club. And one of the issues there is that while women have always been there, their work hasn't always been fairly represented, or there have been sort of issues in studios whereby women just feel like, it's not an environment that they can stay in long term.
Despite nearly half of all gamers being women, women make up only 22% of the gaming industry, which topped $43 billion in 2018. Anastasia Staten is part of a group that works to encourage girls to go into gaming careers.
We're not going to change the workforce or the face of the workforce from a statistics perspective if we don't start with building the pipeline. Because we all know that if you can see yourself in a role, other women will raise their voice, they will join the conversation.
According to the National Science Foundation, only about 18% of computer science bachelor's degrees go to women. But industry experts say many different degrees can lead to work in the gaming industry, and that change is coming. Geneva Hayward hopes to be part of that change. She is majoring in game design at NYU.
I don't feel alone. Like, I know there are other women out there that are in this field.
She says she's inspired by women who came before her and knows she'll do the same for the next generation. Tom Hansen, CBS News, New York.
And stay with us. We'll have another check of your weekend forecast in just a moment.
There's a 10-day forecast. You can see we have an alert day in for tomorrow for that mix of precipitation. Don't forget to move your clocks ahead Saturday night, and then after that, a little cooler for the start of the week and a midweek warm-up.
All right, Gary, thank you. We're back with more updates in 30 minutes. CBS Evening News is next. Stay tuned.